Super Mario Maker's editor isn't exactly what I would call powerful. Maybe accessible is a nice way of putting it. I've never really been faced with the problem of reviewing a product as utilitarian and pragmatic as this one. There's not a lot of art to talk about here, so much as there is a list of tools that either are or are not here. What's not there are world maps, or a music maker, or custom sprites. There's no keyword searching in the browser. There's no mid-level checkpoints or level playlists, or really anything to give the experience of downloading these ideas a greater sense of progression and payoff. And the included Nintendo-made levels are too short to really pull that one off either. And with that, we're stuck with a game that's probably the closest thing to the toy end of the spectrum that I've ever put on this channel. Super Mario Maker is basically what you can make of it. You gotta use your imagination both to play and cover this one, which means it's time for a gimmick video. I put out an open call for fans to make levels for me to constructively criticize. So here we go. You better watch out, old man Glitch. You're in the crosshairs now, buddy.
Show me what you got.
It's just monsters inside boxes. Great, next! Up and Down by Dakota Runyon Trap has a lot of the same little micro challenges spammed over and over. You got some cool, more cerebral moments with boss enemies and cramped spots, but this stuff's so easy I can do it backwards. Next! Okay, this one's kinda cool, but the concept's something a lot of levels I was seeing later were using. It's a spin on the automatic Mario levels by having you auto-scroll alongside a shell that activates power-ups and switches that get you through, implementing a temporal limit on its bilateral screen space, with ludic systems that have the player focusing on their vertical peripheries at all time. Elmo Trooper brings us Battleship Prime. You got a bit of a puzzle level in here, but the final puzzle is like bathing yourself in acid while being shot at while you do it. Next! I thought I had a lot of Swedish fans, but only one submitted, and he sent me this neat little dungeon with just the right amount of variety, and coins are outlining your jumps, you got these alt routes to a secret room, and here's a Mario Maker tip. The 1-ups don't matter. The 100 Mario Challenge gives you so many lives that throwing any more on the pile just doesn't really do anything. If you go out of your way to make a cool elaborate route to a secret room with a 1-up, put a power-up in there with it. Otherwise, it's not going to feel like a reward. Next! Oh man, this one was awesome! It's a pseudo-remake of Metroid and Mario Maker, with long vertical shafts that branch out into rooms with power-ups you use for specific obstacles that route you through it per branch, until finding shortcuts that you really don't notice until the 3rd or 4th run. The Metroids are there, the Mother Brain is there, there's even a crazy countdown escape as you hijack a ship and rush out of there. It's freaking great. Easy, there's nothing to it, you just zigzag your way to the end. Come on, you guys can do better! Mount Wiggler Detour by Hino Hino Zero is hopefully the weirdest thing I'll have to say all day. But it's like an actual Mario level. You got precision and speed-prodded platforming with plenty of alternate routes for cool little bonuses, and God damn it! In the chaotic and gimmicky world of the Mario Maker level browser, sometimes something that's just like a classic regular old Mario level is just what you want but can't find. So I'm going to include this one in the description, because by regular old Mario standards, it is just fine. Hino Hino also submitted this one, which is also just like an airship level from Mario 3. Only problem is that this time there's just a few too many power-ups to make it feel like a nice crisp challenge, so let's just see what's next. Perilous platforming pays off, doesn't pay off because there's a super easy, barely hidden route that just does the work for you. Quick past the compact castle was also way too easy. Come on, Sam, why'd you have to be a cool guy and send me like 3 of these? At least make one of them special. Capri Gensis decided to break the rules and submit a level he didn't make, but that's fine because I really like this one. It's called Escape the Dungeon with Your Dad, so I can already relate to that. You play as a baby Goomba with a dad Goomba that hits switches for you while you hit switches for him, or else you'll accidentally commit patricide. It's horrible. This is the stuff Mario Maker was made for. Up and Down by Up and Down by Cannot Say 86 makes it look like they just needed to spam everything everywhere for some reason. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to cheat the unlocking system. I'm on to you. Spin Jump Castle by Greg Meehan is a challenging but fair puzzle course that commits the flaw of requiring sequential power-ups for taking hits past unavoidable enemies. I see that happening a lot, and in every case it seems like it could be unnecessary, while also just opening up holes for players to break the level. Next! We got Figure It Out by Dog McSpain. Apparently no one figured it out before I played it, but I figured it out after 50 minutes. Listen, Dog McSpain, your problem is probably that this spring here is the most critical piece of your puzzle, but it's hidden underneath the world's largest tower of enemies. No one's gonna look there, and the colors and layers of everything just make it blend right in. Next! The Meat Factory is what it sounds like. It's like Meat Boy, spinning saws, moving on rails. Note though, when you're building levels, one thing you should account for when designing moving obstacles is that the timing in which they move is going to be affected by how soon the player scrolls their screen over. So sometimes when you intend for the player to see this, they'll actually see this, unless their placement is aligned perfectly parallel to the player's movement. Regardless, this is a pretty sweet level that delivers a grueling challenge on a time budget, which is actually a big problem for Mario Maker I'll get into later, but for now, this one gets a star. Next up, we got Cakewalk, also by Dog McSpain. You're never allowed to name a level again. Koopa Armada by Kathrifka would be a great airship level if it wasn't for this bullshit right here. Next. Infiltration has you sneaking under a fortified building, disguising yourself as the enemy, reconning the area, and then working your way inside of their base from underneath them. I love it. I love the idea of Mario levels tapping into genres that aren't Mario, and this one feels like it's naturally coming straight off the cuff of Metal Gear. These climbable vines are great. They don't have to be there. They're not necessary to progress. They're actually there for role-playing purposes. These spike traps force the player to lower themselves down a rope slowly and carefully, avoiding dangers on their way down, just like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, and I've always wanted to be Tom Cruise. Actually, never mind. The second half of this level has traps. Lots and lots of traps. And without mid-level checkpoints, Mario Maker has a real issue with levels that load their difficulty in the second half, and if you have to make the player stand and wait in the beginning for puzzle mechanics to happen, then don't place traps later in the level that punish players for slowing down and moving carefully as the stakes increase. You just don't do that. Or you can build shortcuts for them to find the second or third time. That works, and it always feels good to uncover those things. But here, you don't have a lot of ways to just save your time as you figure more and more of the level out. Still a damn cool level, though.
Smash!
The buzz about Buzzy Beetles by Dewey D. Truman is a rousing rally cry for ruling nefarious rascals. Next!
Ooh.
This one goes nice and fast. Obstacles are placed smoothly, and you don't often get a moment to just go fast in Mario, but the two-stacked Bowser at the end is like a fun goalie. His job is to just block out your fun. You know, when they tell you to stay small, you gotta stay small. You can't grab the power-ups in this level, you can't do what you're trained to want to do, and I don't know why I didn't listen to them, they told me. Remember that level in Psychonauts where you were a giant monster rampaging through a city of tiny lungfish in the mind of a big lungfish who had aspirations for an alternate chain of evolution, and how you were basically playing the same game like you usually do, just with more dark humor context being applied to your basic actions? That was a good level. So is this one. But this one's not. It's like a regular but kinda hard underground Mario level without a whole lot interesting going on. Unlike this one, which is made by someone with a fair bit of game hacking experience, and you can kinda tell. Vivian's Final Dreams looks really good. Every block is placed in a way that gives every platform some symmetrical elegance that you don't usually see. Look at how these mushrooms have end caps, that's excellent. There's also wise usage of music prompts that makes the whole thing way more quiet, atmospheric, and artsy than anything made in Mario Maker has any right to be. I loved it. Okay, we're really getting into the good stuff now. This mystery cabin makes inventive use of doors, P-blocks, and comments everywhere to make a puzzle level whose design reminisces on survival horror. Unlock rooms of a creepy mansion, solve a puzzle in each one, and then try to survive on your way to a good or a bad ending. It's really neat stuff, and the puzzles aren't too frustrating, even though I'm noticing by now that a lot of the puzzle levels in Mario Maker can be easily broken due to a lack of controls. Makes me wonder how crazy people are ultimately going to be able to get with this thing. Return to Bowser's Temple is an enormous, non-linear, and complex level that doesn't suffer from Mario Maker's lack of checkpointing as you feel around for faster routes to the end with each and every death. You can notice the Metroid theme with how every sub-area branching off of the central hub has its own theme, each one being a unique kind of obstacle that every area sticks to. Even though I found a quick route to the end, I almost want to go back just to see what I missed. This place feels huge. It's a very, very well-made level. This one might not have as much complexity or scope going for it, but it's still a great example of how amazing the payoff of finally beating something this hard can feel. You can't hit P-blocks, you gotta think outside the box and unlearn your old habits. You gotta relearn the difference between a short hop and a long hop while nailing precision jumps that would actually be harder than trying to land yourself on a tiny one-block island. It's the most difficult level I played by far, but it doesn't feel like it because the challenges are so transparent and easy to read. You know exactly what to do and what you did wrong, and the trip back to try it again isn't too time-consuming either. Though I died probably more on this level than any other, I don't think it took me as long as many others, and it kept me motivated throughout. But you know where a line of coins needs to be? If a line of coins ever needed to be anywhere, it needed to be right down here. So now we have Flame 1 by Wednesday's Cereal. Sorry man, I love you, but you just run and jump through this one. You got this cape and you never use it, but that just made me realize something. If you put a cape or a raccoon tail or any flying thing in one of these levels, players are going to start searching up for new ways through those levels, but in this one there's nothing up there, and it all feels lacking and under-designed as a result. It's weird. Next up, we got Knee Deep in Goomba. Yeah, this dungeon sure looks scary. The price of goods and their value includes the human labor used to make them, which means the economy essentially turns human beings into commodities whose entire life's purpose is to get metaphorically ground up to death in their workplace by the metaphorical gears of the economy, just like slaves, which means the only people who really have freedom in this system are the few who inherit all the capital and hoard it for themselves while being incentivized to pay workers only the lowest wage possible using only the cheapest methods possible, and that's why you can't feel good about buying anything, so be sure to enjoy these wonderful new Nintendo brand Super Mario Maker levels for your Nintendo brand Wii U. Garrett Thompson says this isn't Toho. So what we got here is you steered the clown copter out of the way of danger and low clearances. Oh no! Yeah, it's no Toho. Here's another one of those anti-cooperative levels, where you have to follow a mushroom around. I love these things. They're a real marvel to look at, and they're also a nice little challenge. This one in particular is a great, short, to-the-point example of a template for making one of these levels of your own. This is like the visual spectacle of Automatic Mario, but with the interactivity of regular Mario. It's the best of both worlds. Semi-automatic transmission Mario. And here's another mushroom-following level from the same guy. This one has you zigzagging back and forth across a cramped little space to make this big journey happen, which is taking this idea and going way outside the box with it. These two levels were a joy to play. They're so tight and concise, they're almost cute. It's such a perfect density, and this one nails the amount of challenge and time needed to keep this kind of level fun. So you have a roller coaster of wigglers that follow these rails, and the challenge ramps up as you go across an ever-increasing gauntlet of careful jumping on these finicky anti-platforms that could come tumbling down any minute, and there is a bottom to this pit. After all that, it gives you a second chance. Thank you! Mario Maker really needs checkpoints, but until they patch that in or something, what the players are going to have to do is make their own by drawing out new routes that subtract progress rather than just outright killing the players and making them start over from the very beginning. Joe and Hex submitted 10 levels because he must think he's a super duper cool dude, so I just picked the one with the most stars, Rails. So you got these roller coasters that you jump on, and then it's just like, oh no! These things go fast, and they never stop coming, but fortunately the level's not too long that they wear out their welcome. I like this stuff. I like levels that have a unique, creative challenge to them that could have been possible in the older Mario games that just never got around to it. It's a concise exploration of a unique kind of challenge, so good show. Oh no, this is just mean. I love it. Everything you need to know about the whole challenge is right here on this one screen. Gotta go slow. You don't do precision running or jumping here. It's all about precision walking. It's so different going slow and getting good at going slow. Not much to say about this one. Pretty standard quality airship ride, except for this one part with the wall of dry bones and rocky wrenches. Slowly chipping away at a front of projectile-throwing enemies is a challenge that's not really been fully explored in Mario games, and it's briefly interesting here, but it can still be cheesed through with power-ups and shells. Next time, try making a level just about this idea instead, and see how far you can stretch it. P-Switch Peril is another P-Switch avoiding level like P-Switches Get Stitches from earlier. But this one has the P-Switches shotgunning out of cannons, rather than being deliberately placed at the landing spots of jumps. And that gives it an element of unpredictability that doesn't mesh well with the precision needed for this kind of challenge. It's also one of the few levels where the first half is harder, or at least feels cheaper, than the second half, which is the part of the level that actually gets into some much more interesting ideas. And last but not least, we have a remixed 1-1 level that's another solid, satisfying, traditional level that could have been an actual original Mario level in another universe. Multiple routes, some fun secrets, and a nice fair level of challenge round out the whole experience with something that's almost as good as a little slice of the real thing. There's nothing super unique or special about this one, it's just good old Mario. And sometimes that's all you need to make this whole crazy Mario Maker editor idea seem worthwhile.